Good morning, gorgeous. It is great to see you, and it is good to be out here in the front garden with my hat on in the shade. But if the sun comes, and it probably will, because it's shining, it can blind me. So, and that's, you know, who wants to be squinty? So I'm going to enjoy the long clover here because it's beautiful, particularly with the feverfew growing behind it. It's lovely colours, and it won't be here forever because now we have the weed eater team in the house is organised again, and it's gonna go. Good morning, Mike. So I'm really enjoying this lovely clover and the feverfew. The colour is lovely, and while we're here, we've still got coriander flowers en masse, but see, we've got seeds. So this is just a little corner of the front garden that's kind of wild, and there you go. Now you can see the coriander flowers properly. I love them, they're like lace. Good morning, beautiful people. It is great to see you. And look, the orchid's got brown spots on its leaves, but I still love the colour. It never stops being lovely to look at. And we have some late roses, which is hard, you know, they look a bit pale. Abigail, it's you. I thought it might be you, that little Aussie looking hat there. Don't know why I thought that would be you. Must have seen you change the picture a little while ago. Look at this, Mrs. Cecile Brunner, the sweetheart rose. Good morning. I think that's you, Sarah. I'm starting to remember your little face when you pop up on my screen. It's lovely to have you with us. And look, this is something which covers the ground. And isn't it glorious? Kylie, good morning. It's great to have you with us. Yay! I don't know what this is called. I think it might be something called Mercury Bay, but isn't it glorious? And look, you can see the dew. These little treasures that you look over because they're not that interesting. But look at this. When you get close, they are. Sandy, it's you. Good morning. And oh my God, I'm going to have a foxglove invasion because see, those seeds went brown and I didn't prune them off. I'm going to have to do that. But there's a lovely spider's web there. You probably can't see it. But I don't want the spider to be without its webs, so I'll have to do that. We've got apples on the neighbour's tree, which are looking like real apples this year. It's the first year that tree's really felt big enough and strong enough to bear. And a few late fuchsias dangling in the wind, dancing in the wind. What else have we got? Things I haven't taken care of, that's what we've got here. I've got to stop this thing from seeding. See this grass? It's very invasive, so I've just dealt with that. Because if I wait, it'll fall off and there'll be more there next year. We've got rose hips, which are going to be beautiful. That's why I don't cut them off. We've got the last of the willow gentian. This willow gentian badly needs dividing. It hasn't done very well this year. And that's because it's got so big. You see that huge goes from here to here, and it's gotten big and old, and I actually need to divide it up. So, because it just needs that. And look, we have late roses on the willow rose. They're actually a lot happier than the earlier ones because there's no strong winds. And yeah, I've got to move this. I promised this bush that I wouldn't move it again when I put it where it is, but it's not doing well here. It doesn't get enough light. Oh look, I've got to show you this because it won't last forever. Look at the leucalia. We've still got leucalia flowers. I'm loving how long this bush is beautiful for. And the leaves are fabulous. Look at the leaves. It's going to get a big prune soon, but it's just not quite time yet. It's the time of year when there's a lot of tasks to do, and I have to decide what gets done. I can't not show you these. There you go. Look. The autumn crocus, they always do this, they fall over as they age, but even that is wonderful because of those beautiful white stems. And we've got spiderwort as well. So I was thinking, oh, there's not much to show you in the front garden, but actually there is, it's just a bit messy. So there we go. Right, now let me get to today's subject. Oh, rhododendrons. Do some research. I think they like a bit of shade, but actually I don't know. Test the soil pH because it matters what the pH of the soil is when you plant a rhododendron. If it's not acidic enough, they won't thrive. That's about all I know about rhododendrons. So, topic today, picking up straight where we left off from yesterday, where we were talking about, what the hell were we talking about? Oh, God. We were talking about something that I can't remember. But I know that one of you made a comment at the end. In fact, you asked me a question, and right now, who it was has also escaped my memory, about, well, you know, I've got these thoughts. Well, that's right, I was talking about making your brain coherent, opening your focus to get your attention off things that are not healthy for you. Because remember, when you're thinking and feeling unpleasant thoughts and having unpleasant feelings, that has a direct and instant immediate feeling, and you know, it's reversible, but it has a direct and instant effect on your body. And so you want to be able to change how you're thinking and how you're feeling, but how the hell do you do that? And so we started talking about that yesterday. And then the question was, well, you know, I mean, how do you get your attention off these things that are just really in your face? And it lined up with, yeah, I decided that was what we would talk about today because it was such a good question. So when I was thinking about it, and again, I like to pull this into the neuroscience that I've learned from Dr. Joe Dispenza because it makes so much sense to me. Amy, good morning. It makes massive sense to me, and to understand what actually has to happen inside my head and in my body if I'm going to have a different experience living my life. So when you have a persistent painful memory, one that, you know, it comes back and you've thought it and remembered it and it's like you can't get it out of your head, all of those things going on, what's actually happening is, because remember, when you have an experience, the first time you have an experience, it's new and it's novel, and if it's emotionally charged, and we're kind of assuming that at the moment something is emotionally charged, that's why you can't get it out of your awareness, because it keeps coming back, and your body has actually become conditioned to the chemical emotional experience of that memory, and it's actually addicted to it, which is why it keeps coming back, and you're not thinking about it, and then boom, there it is. It's because your body's saying, I want my fix of those stress hormones that I've become addicted to. That's literally what happens. We get conditioned to the very things, feelings, experiences we don't want. So by the time that has happened, in your brain there is a lot of physical hardware that represents that memory. Because when you first have that experience, because it's powerful, because something outside of you changes how you feel inside of you, when that happens, your brain is going to perk up and pay attention and take a snapshot of everything in the environment. Whether you're aware of it or not, it goes, oh, this is powerful. That was not so nice. I want to avoid this, so I better pay attention to what it is so I can look out for it and do my best to avoid it, right? That's just what the brain is set up to do. And that's great if you had gone to a watering hole and it was safe for the last 6 months, but today you go and there's an alligator and it nearly kills you. You want to remember that the next time you go to that watering hole, you better look out for the alligator or find another one. Jen, Andrew, it's great to see you. Good morning, morning. So, you know, that's how the brain works, and it's great, except when we get stuck in it and the body gets conditioned into the past and we're stuck in the past. And we were talking about being stuck in the past chemically and emotionally and neurologically and epigenetically yesterday. So there's a lot of things that I'm going to try to remember that I don't need to explain today. So because of that conditioning and because we get stuck in the thinking and feeling loop of the past, what happens is that those original neurological connections that you make when you go, oh my God, I got to remember this. That's, you know, and then you form a long-term memory because you want to avoid it. Every time you revisit it, every time you talk about the bad experience with friends or with a counsellor or with police if they're involved, you know, whatever it is, you actually strengthen those connections and you add more connections to them. So by the time you've been living with this for 7 years or 30 years or however long it's been, there is a ton of neurological hardware in your brain related to that experience and all the other experiences that you've wrapped around it and all the things in your environment that remind you of it unconsciously, subconsciously. You're not even aware that you walk past a shop that has a smell coming out of it that reminds you unconsciously of something that relates to that thing that happened 25 years ago. You know, this is how it works. We get a really enriched neural net, and so many things in our environments can trigger it off, and there's the thought again. I'm like, where the hell did that come from? That's where it came from. So all of that hardware then when it fires off, it produces the chemistry that goes with that hardware, and that's why the memory is persistent. That's literally what's going on. And remember, the body actually becomes conditioned to the chemistry that pours when that neural net fires, and you have the bad feeling, you have the bad memory, off it goes again, and your body goes, great, I understand this, it's familiar to me, and it's going to keep on happening because the body is used to it. And bodies just keep things the same unless we change ourselves. So that is why it's difficult to change these things. To change them, all right, you have all those experiences, and you think and you think and you feel and you feel, and you make more of those neurological connections. And remember, those connections, every time you fire those connections and have the thought or the feeling, you get chemistry, and that chemistry pours. So those those neurotransmitters that make that neural net fire are what create the chemistry. So if you're going to not continually have the experience again, not continually think and feel the same way, literally inside your brain, those connections have to be pruned apart. That's an actual term. It's neural pruning. You sprout connections and you prune connections. This is neuroscience. So you have to actually take that neural net apart. And part of the process of doing that is opening your focus so that the blinking thing, first of all, stops firing. Right? Because if it's still firing, you're still in those stressful emotions, and your body is still getting its fix, and everything's the same. So you have to shut it down by opening your focus, get your awareness off it, get your attention off everything that's you. That's another discussion about how you do that. If you want more information than I possibly have time to talk about today, look up Joe Dispenza on YouTube, and I don't know, open focus or whatever. You'll find something. Or ask me a question, I'll point you to something. Anyway, you open your focus, you make your brain coherent. That yelling voice in your head is going to shut up if you persist, and we talked about how to do that yesterday. Once you have done that, those synaptic connections aren't firing anymore, so those neurotransmitters aren't signaling your pituitary and your hypothalamus to make neuropeptides to make you feel the way you've always been used to feeling. So that's the first thing, is just to stop the blinking thing from going off. Easier said than done if it's powerful, but that's what we have to do. And it does help to understand what you're doing and why you're doing it when you're in the process of doing it, because then you think, okay, I understand why this is hard. I'm going to keep opening my focus away from these persistent thoughts and feelings that come up. And feelings, by the way, can be really visceral. Your body can absolutely buck and kick and throw a purple freaking fit when you start to break it from its chemical conditioning. It's a fight sometimes. It can be a fight for a lot of the time. I just want you to understand that. This is why it's hard. This is why people don't get out of things, because they don't understand it enough to engage with that kind of intensity and determination when that resistance comes up. That's what it is. When you feel the resistance to doing something new, to trying something new, to using a new skill, to opening yourself to new information, new experience, that's why. Because your body's saying, oh, something's going to change. No, we can't have that. I was talking with somebody yesterday, exactly that situation, and I was able to explain. This is why. Your body doesn't want things to change. You want things to change. But if you're going to have things change, you actually have to open yourself to new information, new experiences, or nothing is going to change. And they understood it. So, once you are able to shut those networks down, and there's a whole process in doing that, which can involve an absolute screaming wrestling match inside your own mind. But if you continue to settle your body down, settle your mind down, say, no, I'm just opening my focus. No, I'm just opening my focus. By the way, it really helps to have the right kind of music and the right kind of guidance. And I cannot rave enough about the meditations of Joe Dispenza, because they help me do this so well. But once you've done that, then you can usefully and actually with effect start to invest your attention in something else that you do want to think and feel. Now, why is that important? Those connections and that neural net in your brain that's all around the trauma you want to forget, they're held together by neurotrophins. What is it? Oh, neural growth factor. I remembered. Woohoo! They're held together by something called neural growth factor. And neural growth factor is like a super glue for neurons, and it holds connections together that are really well used, and they're established and they're hardwired. right, is hardwired in your head. It's, it's not just like the wires have been twisted together, they're soldered, okay? For those who know what solder is. And the thing is, though, there is a limited amount of neural growth factor in the brain. It's not sort of hanging around on every street corner saying, use me, use me, use me. It's all in use. So, if you're in the process, when you manage to shut those connections down, what you don't use in your brain, you lose in your brain. That's why if you don't remember, you remember a phone number of somebody and then you completely lose touch with them because they moved to another country, you don't care about them. And you forget their number after a year or so. It's because you're not using that connection. So when you don't use it, you lose it, which is great if it's about an old memory, but you've got to stop firing it. What fires in the brain, wires in the brain. Fire it together, wire it together. If you don't fire it, it's going to unwire. So to steal the neural growth factor from those old connections, you've got to first stop firing it, and then you've got to fire something else. And when you start to create and imagine and speculate about who you are without the pain, who you are without the intensity, who you are without whatever it is, you begin to imagine quite automatically, you begin to rehearse who it is you are wanting to be. And so you put your attention onto those things and just thinking about it. And it's so much easier when I'm deep in meditation, when my analytical mind, the thinking mind that goes da, 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 with all the screaming in my head, is out of the picture. Then I can create my new self. I can put my attention into firing and wiring new thoughts, new feelings, having a new experience. And I've been doing that really so much more effectively this year. It's been amazing. Because I'm becoming that person. And of course, as I become that person, more neural nets that are not consistent with whom I'm becoming come up, and I have to silence those as well. And more than that, when they come up, and sometimes they come up really loud and painful, okay? It's not just a thought, it's a feeling, it's a visceral experience of who I've been, that I think, well, I don't want to be this person anymore. Who am I going to be now? And I further add to that growing neural net about the new self I'm becoming. And the more I fire and wire that new neural net about who I'm becoming and how my life is and how it all works, the neural growth factor gets stolen from the old connections and they prune apart. And you get the experience where it's like you've got two heads, or two minds actually. Because you can feel the old thought and the old experience seductively waving at you from one side. Oh, come on, come on, come on, come on, come back. Be judgmental, be angry, be sad, be exhausted, be overwhelmed, be unworthy, which is what it is for me. Often, really. The baseline thing we all have, bottom line, is we don't feel worthy. Because if we do, we have it. Anyway, and then it comes. And over here is this new self that I'm getting better at being. And like I said, just the other day, I really found the switch. Am I sad that it's taken me 2 years to really find the switch? Hell no. The journey to find that switch has been amazing. I've had some incredible experiences. I'm going to have more incredible experiences. But it's wonderful that I can now go, oh yeah, I need to, and I really have that. The neural growth factor has really sealed those connections. And I know that because now when I fire that neural net in my brain, I get chemistry. I get a pretty instant response. And I want you to understand, it has taken me years to create this because I didn't know how to feel elevated emotions. Because you do got to pair a clear intention, which is a function of a coherent brain, with an elevated emotion, which is a function of a coherent heart. We've spoken about that. And my heart was slammed shut. And about a year ago I started opening it, and it's taken me this long to really be able to open my heart, and now I can. I really can. I know it's going to get bigger. I know there's always more love for me to experience, but I really can open my heart, and I can bring up that new self that I've been building for 2 years, as compared to, a total of 54 and a half or whatever it is in this body, because I'm eternal. But for 2 years, I've been creating a different self. And now that neural net is getting really established. So I'm not saying it's going to take you 2 years. I'm just saying it's taken me 2 years, and if it takes you a while, to not be upset, because that's just the process. I had a ton of neural hardware in my head about just being sad and unworthy all the time, and the thing was, for so long I didn't even know it was there. I had no concept that was what I was actually banging my head against. It was just so normal for me to feel that way. So I had to slowly, really, as you start to elevate, even a small bit, by contrast, you start to notice the parts of yourself that aren't going there. And that's exactly what needs to happen. So you develop the tools, you develop the skills, you get better at self-regulation, which is really what it is, and then one day you will have your own quiet, gentle aha moment, or maybe a great tsunami of, oh my God. For me it was just, oh goodness, I got it, I can do this. I'm walking up the road and I was feeling tired, and I suddenly thought, oh my God, hang on a moment, how was I walking on the beach the other day when because I went to the beach a couple of weeks ago and I was feeling woozy and tired and exhausted, and I freaking changed my energy so powerfully. My body lit up with energy, and I thought, if I did it there, I can do it here. And I remembered, and I did it, and it worked. From step to step, I was one person, then I was another. I found the switch. So for me, I hit the head. I hit the head of the nail. I've been doing it bit by bit for that long, and I'll get better at it. I got a lot more nails to hit on the head. You would say that, Andrew. You're a builder, of course. So that is how it happens. And the thing is, and I spoke about it yesterday, the memory of the abuse that I experienced when I was 19. It's dead now. It's emotionally dead. All of the painful connections around that just aren't there, so they can't pour the chemistry of pain. More and more, the neural connections in my brain about not feeling worthy, about feeling sad, about feeling disempowered, about feeling overwhelmed, there's not enough time, I'll never be abundant, it'll never happen, all of that, it's just not there to pour the chemistry into my body anymore. And I've had to break my body of the chemical conditioning because it was used to it. And I've been in my house, just walked into my kitchen when I came back from my walking meditation last Saturday, feeling, just fine. And suddenly, and I thought, whoa, hang on a minute. That's my old self. And so I brought my energy back up again. So I found the switch, and I got lots of things to switch all the time, but I've found it and I can do it because the neural net is now established enough in my brain to pour the chemistry that I want. The old chemistry can still pour, but the new chemistry is there, the new neurology is there, and the memories lose their emotional charge because there's the neurology that produced the emotional charge simply isn't there anymore to do it. And that's how you do it. You got to prune those connections apart. You got to steal the neural growth factor from one neural net and put it into another. And it takes time, and it's so worth the effort. So, Kylie, I'm pretty sure it was you asked that question. It was a great question. I expect there'll be more to come out of it because there's so much in this. It's such a liberation. We can do this for ourselves. Big love. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.